I'm Phoenix City Councilman Kevin Robinson. We're here in the Desert Botanical Gardens, right here in the middle of District 6, one of the most iconic locations within the city and within our council district. And we're taking a tour of the Desert Botanical Gardens with Ken Schutz, the Executive Director.
Councilman, welcome to the garden.
Thank you. I've been here a number of times, always amazed at just how beautiful the whole site is.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Got an hour?
Oh,
I'll condense it.
Okay.
So we have 150 acres here in Papago Park. 50 are cultivated as public gardens. We have 50,000 plants. We focus on cacti and agave primarily, but all desert species, trees, shrubs, wildflowers. We serve between 500,000 and 1 million people a year, and we do 4 things. We're a public attraction, we do conservation, we do education, and then we do bench research, much like a university would do.
Okay, can you give us an example of some research that you would do?
Yeah, so with climate change and global warming, there's a real concern about will desert plants survive. So we're working with our scientists to look at different members of the same species, especially saguaros. So some saguaros made it through last summer and some didn't. So we're collecting the seeds from those that survived. We'll be growing those out to see if we can actually start to create a strain of saguaro that's more heat tolerant, more hardy for the kind of summers we expect.
I know you guys have a plant sale a couple times a year. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, our favorite customers are called cactomaniacs. They're plant collectors, call them plant geeks too. So for those people in the valley who in their homelands, landscapes especially, like to use native plants, we have 2 plant sales each year. Thousands of plants on our parking lots. Our scientists, our horticulturists on hand to advise buyers about where they can plant and how to best care for the plants. And we'll sell between $300,000 and $400,000 worth of plants in both the spring and the fall, and those wind up in home landscapes all around the valley, especially in the city.
Well, Ken, next year you guys are celebrating your 85th anniversary. Do you have something special planned for it?
That's right, 85 years old. We were started in 1939 on February 12th. So on our anniversary day, we have an $8.50 promotion, which is kind of like 1939 prices. And then the following Tuesday, as we do every month, there'll be a community day where admission is free to everyone. And then every month we will celebrate one plant or one aspect that's relevant to our history throughout the entire year.
Okay, that sounds great. You'd be congratulated on doing such a tremendous job out here. And you were just mentioning, because we hear a little construction noise in the background, progress. Can you tell us what that's about?
The sound of progress, yes. Our community has donated more than $15 million to create world-class spaces for our plants. Cactus and agave, digitally controlled greenhouses, commercial grade nursery spaces, and then also a horticulture headquarters and another classroom building, and a new exhibit gallery where we can show more fragile plants indoors and also show plant art and not have it be subject to the elements. The research we do is really extraordinary. We have people all around the world, but especially in the Sonoran Desert, collecting endangered species, bringing them back here to grow, we say in ex situ, out of sight, but to protect them here, kind of like a Noah's Ark for plants. And then we're studying how to reintroduce them into the wild, which means restoring habitats. So we work very closely with other partners in the mountain preserve system that rings the whole valley to first stabilize the habitats in the mountains where so many people hike, and then once they're stabilized to actually restore what damage has been done, and then when they're healthy, fully healthy again, introduce the native species that have been lost. And that's just one example of the work we're doing around the world, here, South America, Africa, and Asia.
That's tremendous. Well, Ken, the last thing, you have the Luminarias event. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So this will be our 46th Luminarias. And what we have are 8,000 candles that are lit and blown out every night by volunteers that ring the garden. And then we have 10 stages where there are local acts performing music, carols, and also some storytelling. It's a wonderful family event. It's beautiful at the garden where you get to stroll the trails by candlelight, and it's for the whole family.
Well, I've been here, we've done it. We especially love this particular event this time of year. Are there things that people can do? I mean, is there a way to help sustain the garden even more so?
Sure. I mean, our mission is conservation, education, research, and exhibition of desert plants. We're a private, not-for-profit, so we don't receive public funding. Our funding comes from the income we receive at the admissions gate, and then also through philanthropy and charitable contributions. And our secret weapon is volunteer power. 700 volunteers who give $61,000 a year in person hours. So one can volunteer, become a member, make a contribution to either our operating budget, or you might be able to hear that sound in the background. We're building a new greenhouse for endangered species, a gift to our capital fund to create structures to take care of the plants.
You know, the grounds here are wonderful, terrific, everything about it. Tell us, how do you sustain it? I mean, where does the money come from?
Well, we have 50,000 plants to care for and between 500,000 and 1 million guests each year. So our operating expenses are significant. We are a private, not-for-profit organization. We don't receive public funding. So we really run on 3 engines. First is the admission fee that we charge at the gate, which is offset by a free day each year so everyone can come. Second, by charitable gifts, philanthropic gifts, mostly to help us build new things for guests and for the plants. And then third, through volunteer power, where we have more than 700 volunteers that each year give in excess of 61,000 hours. That's the equivalent of 30 paid positions. So those 3 things together is what makes us tick.
And you mentioned each night all the luminarias are lit by
There are
volunteers.
8,000. We light each one by hand. We've invented a system so that we don't have to bend over, but we still light them by hand, and then we snuff them by hand. But again, a system so we don't have to bend over. It takes about 40 minutes to light and then extinguish.
Well, that's great. And what you have here is terrific. And I would say to anybody who has not had an opportunity to come out here to the Desert Botanical Gardens, you're really missing out. We come out every year, my wife and I, and we bring the kids occasionally now that they're adults. I know they come out here when they can, but it's a wonderful opportunity to really get to understand more about our environment and truly what's really nice about not just the city of Phoenix, but District 6.
Yeah.